Okay. Conversation with God Club, and I am Linda. I am the normal reader for the group. And Nanette Kennedy is the normal host. Just, although it appears to be pulled away.
Hey, Linda, your phone is kind of cutting in and out a little bit.
Oh, dear.
At least for me. I don't know if it is for other people.
Yeah,
Yes,
well, I'm
it is.
using cell service, so, which is typically more reliable than internet service. But there is a cruise ship in today, so we can hope for the best, I guess. Is that any better?
Yes, yes, that was better.
Okay. All right, well, we'll see. I put it in a specific spot where it's not going to move now. So we are reading, the new book is The Essential Path. And before we start with reading, why don't we just go around the room if we can and just introduce ourselves. And I'll start with the person who is called in. I don't see a name, but it's area code 814. Would you like to introduce yourself and just say where you're from and what brought you to join us?
Well, my name is Marion. I'm from Pennsylvania, and I have read other books of Neil Donald Walsch, and I'm looking forward to this new one.
Wonderful. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Bima, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Bima and I am from Sweden. I live in Sweden and yeah, we've been on this for a while now and I'm looking forward. I was not there last week, unfortunately, but I'm looking forward to read this book together with you. So I love this.
Great to have you here. Thank you, Bima.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, thank you.
Mary, how about you?
Okay, I'm Mary. I am from San Diego, California, USA. And I have been participating in this book club for a while, and it's sort of like my Sunday morning church activity, and I love it here. So thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Great to have you here. Angela?
Hi, everybody. I'm Angela Means. I live in England, the very most southwestern point of England, UK. And I've been reading Neil's books for 20 years now.
Wonderful. Thank you, Angela. Shabana?
Hi, everyone. I'm Shabana Hussain. I'm from Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Thank you, Shabana. Megs, do you want to do you? I can unmute you. I'll unmute you. It's not letting me unmute you.
Here.
There you go.
Hi, my name's Megs, and I'm here in Seward, Alaska, in the same room as Linda. And this is about my 4th time coming to book club, and I'm familiar a little bit with Conversations with God, but I haven't read a lot of it. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Okay. All right, folks. So that's everybody. I take it Nanette is not back yet. And everybody is on mute. Now, I've paged through a little bit of this new book, and the chapters are very short. So I am going to stop at the end of every chapter and see if there's discussion. that you'd like to have. Because that was one of the things that was mentioned, that there was not enough discussion. So this is chapter 1, the essential path. The proposition. We are one decision away from a solution to humanity's biggest problem. This is a decision so powerful in its impact that it would solve not only our species' biggest collective problem, but the largest problem faced by every individual reading this right now. But be warned, this decision may not be what it seems, and it definitely will not fall in line with what is most widely expected or generally accepted. That makes it a daring decision, perhaps the most significant decision of your life. And don't think you didn't know that when you started reading here. You knew exactly what you were doing and why. Nobody has to tell us that life on our planet is not what we hoped it would be. All we have to do is take a look at what's happening every day around the world, and in some cases in our own lives. There are very few among us who have not found ourselves shaking our heads in discouraged dismay at the latest tweet or online news bulletin or newspaper headline. And sometimes, too many times perhaps, at the challenges confronted in our own home. This leads to a compelling question. Is it possible, just possible, that there's something we don't fully understand about ourselves, about life, and about God, the understanding of which would change everything? To me, the answer is obvious. Is it to you? If your answer is yes, you're invited to now undertake a very quick but deeply revealing explanation of everything. Why things are the way they are on Earth today, when our biggest problem arose, what has blocked us from the obvious solution, and how we can dissolve the problem virtually overnight. We begin with some additional compelling questions. That's the end of the first chapter. And John has joined us. Thank you, John. I saw you earlier, and then we went around and we did introductions, and you were gone, so I'm glad to see you back. Does anybody want to comment on this very first short chapter?
Had to get the right combination of picture and audio. What chapter are you on?
We just finished the very first chapter in this new book, The Essential Path.
I better not comment on that because I haven't read it recently. I read it about 15 years ago, but I didn't remember all of it. I've got it on my phone right now. I'm trying to find the correct chapter to get started on. Okay, you just finished it. No.
All right. Oh, here's Nanette. Yay!
Hello.
Don, I'm going to go ahead and mute you. Hey, Nanette.
Hello, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. I'm going to let you go ahead and get started while I get myself finished being ready here.
Okay. Well, we were just finishing the very first chapter in The Essential Path. And I guess nobody else has had anything to comment, but I'm just going to comment because of what we all woke up to this morning. Seems like exactly what Neil's talking about here. You know, we're used to kind of waking up to mass shootings. We're not used to waking up to 2 mass shootings.
Oh, I didn't hear this. What happened?
Oh, there's been 2 mass shootings. One was in El Paso last night, and then one was also in I think it was Dayton, Ohio. And the one shooter, the one in Dayton, they have killed. The one in El Paso is alive and in custody. Perhaps for me, the most, I don't know, just one of the saddest things about the thing that happened in Dayton is that the shooter shot his sister. And I personally try very hard not to go into that place of darkness. But for a moment, I went into the place of his parents. I can't imagine the pain that those parents are going through, that one of their children killed a bunch of people, and that one of the people he killed was their other child. My heart just breaks for everybody, but for those parents in particular. It just seems like a really painful experience, more painful than many of the others.
Well,
and that's exactly the world that he was just describing in this chapter.
What was the quote that it's been at least a month now, but it was by Matt Kahn. Do you remember which quote that was?
What did it have to do with?
Pretty much, don't worry about it because God's got it covered. Something like that. Let me see. It might be on my desktop.
I'll have to think about it.
Let's see if I can't find it real quick. We'll just move on. But let's see. Oh, it's Matt Kahn on surrender. The individual has a very important job in the spiritual journey, and that is to make room for the universe to work through you and to open up and allow the universe to resolve through you what you no longer insist is yours to figure out.
Right.
I think that's a great quote.
Yep.
Over.
We've just had a mother jailed here in the UK for killing her two young daughters. She killed one, and then a fortnight later killed the other because apparently they were getting in the way of her sex life.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But I've had discussions with family, but what in her mind is like that woman, we have to have compassion because, her mind must be crazy to do such a thing, just like the shootings. So compassion, I think, is the way, I suppose. Over.
Well, in a twisted mind, she could have interpreted that as self-care, because
Yeah.
we hear that we need to take care of ourselves, but what we don't hear is we are not properly schooled in what sex means and how our bodies work and what those urges are and all of that, and so we're fairly ignorant about the housing that we inhabit. But yeah, that's very sad. But again, it's not, that's the thing. We look at each of these things, and I think the real lesson here, if we're going to get it, is it's not the thing. It's what does the thing mean to us? Like, what does it bring to us? How do we learn from it? What do we get from it and then become what we want from that? That's the only purpose any of these things have in our individual lives, I believe.
I think one of the things that's interesting, Linda, is that with every shooting or sad story like this, no matter where it is in the continent, or like the story that Angela just told. I'm glad I don't. I'm glad I'm not so. I'm glad I'm still shocked, if that makes any sense.
Right. Right.
Because when it becomes, and it's become commonplace, but for me, it's still not commonplace. Over.
I've been kind of having an issue with something that was in the last book we read, where he says there is no right and wrong. There's only what works and what doesn't work. And the way you judge whether it works or not is it's got to do with what you want to be, do, or have. That's his criteria that he says. So when I look at this stuff, it's like that feels, I don't know how to feel, because did this shooting result in the shooter getting what he wanted to be, do, or have? And so does that mean that it worked versus it didn't work? If Linda or anyone has insight on this, I'd appreciate it. I know it's not the chapter we just read, but sort of, since that's what we're talking about. Thank you.
Mary, can you read that passage again? Do you have it right there?
I don't. I'd have to find it. I'll see if I can, but it might take a little bit. Okay. Okay, I got it actually. It is Revelation number 7, I believe. There is no such thing as right and wrong. There is only what works and what does not work, depending upon what it is that you seek to be, do, or have.
Yeah, and I can see, I mean, I have a bit of an issue with the way that's worded as well, because I think there isn't anything that right or wrong, it just is. And it just is, and it may or may not work, but it just is. And so I agree, there is some difficulty in that teaching for me as well. So I heard Deepak, I've been listening to the Deepak and Oprah meditation challenge that they had for 22 days. And on the last one, Deepak says, let me see if I can quote this properly. He says that it doesn't matter, you know, what you do or how you do it or what you have. The only thing that ultimately matters is who you are, right? So your actions in the world don't make you who you are. Who you are comes from within. And I think that in terms of right and wrong and what works and what doesn't work, that's at an individual level. So who you are, if it isn't working for you, then you have to change what you're doing, how you are, what you're being. I don't know if that makes any sense, Mary.
Well, it helps to know that you don't totally agree with that other thing either, or can't quite figure out. Thank you. I guess it's back to, I just need to not worry about other people and what they're doing and whether that is working for them, and just worry about what's working for me and who I am. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to add that it sure hits my compassion button. You know, it's like, as long as I don't become so stoic, like I said earlier, that it just doesn't matter anymore because it's so commonplace, it still makes me feel compassion for everyone involved. Over.
I agree with you, Nanette. I feel even if it's happening because that's life, it is really touching. So that's something we have to learn, to come deeper into the source, to heal those horrible wounds that's happening on the planet today. That's my over. Thank you.
I just
Anyone
like,
else? Bishop?
yeah, I just want to add one thing that getting back to your quotation of Deepak and Oprah, I listened to that, and we are basically love, joy, and peace. So my compassion would go out to the two shooters because of how misaligned they are with their essential nature, that they deserve the most compassion for missing their essence. Over.
Thanks, Shabana. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. Thank you for saying that. You explained it better.
It's just a deep sadness at, I mean, this book is very, I think is sort of the icing in the cake for everything we've ever read so far. Because what he's saying is that this is a spiritual problem, not gun control, not tweets, not politics, not any particular person. This is a spiritual issue where each of us has the responsibility to connect to our essential nature. And as we do that, everything will resolve. So this sadness is a precursor to action. For me.
Thank you, Shabana.
Yes, thank you. I agree to that too. That actually they need, we have to connect to those who they are doing this for some horrible inside reason. They are longing for something else. So we have to meet up that, I'm sure. Thank you, Shabana, for that perspective.
Malcolm, I am living in something very similar in Canada where two teenagers, 18 and 19 years old, have shot at least three people, and burned their vehicles. And there's a police search out for these men, and it looks like they've drowned themselves. So the whole country is obsessed with finding these two men because they would love to end the search. But the whole point is, I mean, the bottom line is just this, that we're feeding into the fear instead of the compassion and the sadness. Like, the police is action, 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 instead of everybody just sitting down and thinking, where have we stopped feeling? Where have we stopped touching our own heart? That is the bottom line, is that we are love, and police action and fear are the opposite. Thank you.
Anyone else, or should I move on to the questions?
I think
Go on. Okay, this is chapter 2, the questions. What if the most wonderful ideas you've ever had about life were true? What if the most wonderful ideas you've ever had about yourself were true? What if the most wonderful ideas you ever had about God were true? What if the most wonderful ideas you ever had about what happens after you die were true? What would then be true for you? Do you think there would be any difference between how you might then experience life and how you now experience life? Your answers to these questions are now setting the course and the direction of your experience on Earth. Did you know that? Not to be overly dramatic about it, but it's true. They are determining the path you will take. And humanity's collective answers to these questions are now creating the future of our species by determining the path we will all take. Will it be the path that our species has taken for thousands of years? The one that got us here, where our lives in the world are today? Is this where we want to be? Is this our most wonderful idea about life, about ourselves, about God? Ideas are important. It is ideas that create beliefs, beliefs that create behaviors, behaviors that create experience, and experience that creates the reality. And if our most wonderful ideas become our beliefs, life on our planet will look much different than it does today. Cognitive scientists tell us that all it takes is 1 in 10 people to emphatically embrace an idea, and the mass will follow. What then could cause just 1 in 10 people to believe that the most wonderful ideas we ever had are true? A single decision. We are 1 decision away, really. But we must make that decision now. Not doing so is starting to have on all of us a very real effect. It's a good question, isn't it?
I'm trying to wrap my head around this. with the news of the shootings and the deaths of its 2 children in the UK. And I need to think on it before I can make an intelligent response.
Well, I know for a fact that people, when I have conversations with people about what I believe, 99.9% of the time, people cannot wrap their heads around what I believe. And it's, you know, I think it was either Confucius or Buddha, one of them. I think it was I don't know which one it was. But there's a whole little, you know, saying, your deeds become your actions, your thoughts become, I'm not gonna even try it because I'll screw it up. But it really comes down to, what do you believe? I mean, that's, everything stems from that. And we have a world filled with people that believe all kinds of things that just aren't true. Perhaps if we could just get people to consider the idea that there's something new. It's like the biggest, like he says, you know, we're a single decision away. How do we get that one decision to be made? Over.
Well, I don't find it surprising or difficult at all, because the sadness and the fear we're expressing are simply the motivating factors for those who've committed these actions of taking innocent lives. They were just projecting their grief and fear. So we're all reverberating with their original intention. But the difference is simply this, that because we're connected to the idea that love is all there is, that it's love that binds hearts and universes, our vibration is more powerful and is simply absorbing the negativity and the disconnection. So it's sort of like stepping on the gas in a car. Now that I know that we're going too slow, let's just love more and more vehemently, because our grandest version of the greatest vision is that we just throw more love at it. Over.
I think, I mean, I've got to the point where every opportunity that I can, I will tell whomever I'm speaking that you are not your body, you are not your mind. You are your soul, and it's your sole purpose that why you're here on this planet. So I think this is a big message that we can get across. If people realize that they're not their body, people are living as though they are their bodies.
Okay.
That right there, Angela, is one of the biggest pieces, right? Your body is something you have. It's not something that you are.
Yeah, I agree. This is very important to realize that this body is an instrument to serve with, but it's not me at all. It's just an aspect of life. So it's a good point to go deep into. Thank you. Over.
My son was telling me the story of how there was a waitress who could just bring down everyone simply with her presence. So he decided that if her downward vibration was so powerful, he'd show up with the upward vibration with love and generosity and joy. And with the specific express purpose of absorbing the negativity which had been so powerful. And eventually he was amazed at how she changed, and he bought her a pair of rose-colored sunglasses because she was becoming so powerfully positive. So that's the example I always hold when I think of shooters, people who are using guns, that simply the power of love can absorb darkness the way white blood cells can absorb infection. I just honestly believe that every one of us has the power to absorb darkness, that we are incarnated to do exactly that. Over.
Thank you. That's very helpful. I've been feeling so lost lately. And I was thinking, so my job is just to go inward and strengthen my love and joy and peace so that I can shine that more brightly in the world. And thank you for that anecdote about how it really is a force that can change things. I needed to hear that.
You're welcome, Mary, but I've honestly tried it after my son told me, and it works. And it doesn't just work on human beings, it also works on the weather. We have the power to visualize better weather, and it's been proven that storms which were coming in a particular direction turned around because people meditated or prayed for it to go somewhere else. I mean, I truly believe when we do the meditation at the end, that our hearts being consciously united are doing that job as a group, and that it's extremely powerful. I just refuse to think that I am anything less than the power into which I'm plugged in, and I try to make sure that it's source and nothing else. Over.
Should I do one more chapter?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay, chapter 3. The effect. Let's not dance around this. We have a big problem here, on Earth, I mean. And it's touching our lives every day, individually and collectively. There's no reason to move into a dark or depressed state over this, though, because the solution really is just one decision away. And it's not even a difficult decision to make. We just have to choose to make it. Many people agree with the decision intuitively already. They simply haven't implemented it in their lives as a practical matter, probably because they're waiting to see if anybody else agrees. But the time for waiting is over. The problem now confronting us is becoming pervasive. It's evidenced not only in the world's governments and the world's corporations and the world's social or religious institutions. It's affecting all of us. In individual homes all across the planet, we're feeling the effect. So what's up? What's the problem? Let's lay it out in direct terms. Humanity's biggest problem is that humanity doesn't know what humanity's biggest problem is. You can see the effect of the problem all around us, but we don't seem to see the cause. Now you know you have a real problem. Now you have a real problem when you know you have a problem but don't understand what the problem is. You don't know what's causing the effect that you're observing every day. And humanity's confusion about this has gone on for so long. It's now created a condition that's threatening to become permanent. Here's one way it shows up. Perhaps more than ever in recent times, we're hearing folks say that if we do have a problem right now, it's only because of those others who are creating problems. We didn't have these problems before, these folks say, and we want to go back to the good old days. And just who exactly are those others to whom these folks are referring? It's those unwanted immigrants, those unsatisfied minorities, those unhappy women, those right-wing radicals, those left-wing nutjobs, those unacceptable gays, those uninformed students, those dumb conservatives, those empty-headed liberals, those unmotivated government assistance recipients. It's those others who just keep making things difficult. A well-known political strategist in the United States, Brad Todd, crystallized all of this in a tweet he posted in mid-2018. Is the American left willing to live with and among the American right, or are we at culture rupture? And the phenomenon is not limited to the United States, but is emerging all over the world. Newspaper columnist Paul Krugman put it in this way in an opinion piece in the New York Times, written at about the same time. Quote, "The real crisis is an upsurge in hatred, an unreasoning hatred that bears no relationship to anything the victims have done." Close quote. I resonate with the urgency of Mr. Todd's questions, and I concur with Mr. Krugman's observations. Suddenly it feels as if we live in a world of us versus them. People around the globe are lining up on one side or the other, and the middle ground seems to be disappearing. Not everyone may feel this way, but everyone can feel everyone who feels this way. So it's affecting all of us. Each day it's producing distressing headlines, angry blogs, name-calling speeches, childish rants in tweets, bullying diatribes, finger-pointing triads, and violence-laden outbursts. And while we may not know the underlying cause of the problem human society is now facing, the cumulative impact of that problem can be put into a single word: alienation. We are seeing it more and more. It is an unhappy outgrowth of a very contentious and unhappy situation.
I just have
a cheerful chapter.
Go ahead, Siobhan.
Say that again?
That was a cheerful chapter.
I was just going to say, I had a thought while we were reading that chapter. We used to do things on the 12th of the month, Awakening Day. I wondered maybe we could choose each month some sort of bumper sticker message or something similar, and put it in the area, just post it wherever in the area that we live. We could all do that maybe each month. If we all did the same, put the same message out, maybe.
That's a good idea, Angela. And I'm going to think on that, but I agree with what you're saying. And I agree with what you're saying. Over.
Well, that would take care of the alienation, wouldn't it, Angela?
Sorry, Siobhan, say that again?
That would take care of the alienation he's talking about. Your idea.
Yes, indeed, indeed. I think if we chose, some message, just a sentence, and we could all put the same message out each time.
That's beautiful.
Even if we just have, I'm just thinking here in my village, we have they call it a gate, and it's an area where things are posted, things that are going on in the village, etc. Even if we just put it in one place each month, we have one place that we placed it. There's quite a few of us, in our group here that, so that'd be quite a few posters. Over.
And we can post it on our Facebook pages. You know, without explanation, just
Yes,
post.
I like. Yes.
Yep.
A philanthropist did exactly that here in the city of Calgary. She posted encouraging messages in bright colors because of the economic downturn in this oil producing province. And people were very, very uplifted by it because there was no mention of who had put it out. So Angela's message is exactly the same. She sees the whole world as a global village. And I'm excited about following through on that.
Thanks, Shabana. Me too.
Anybody else before we have Shabana do the meditation?
Well, should we, this is Meg's, shouldn't we agree on a date and a message and get moving with this?
Well, the day would be the 12th of the month.
Which is a week from, that's the day after next Sunday.
So it would be a Monday. And I guess
I missed the meaning of the 12. Could someone explain that to me?
it's a day that Neil Donald Walsh picked out called, he likes to call it Awakening Day. It's a day where you focus on, you know, awakening. And if I'm understanding what Angela said, if we keep what we put out there as not the finger pointing, not the how the childish rants, and try to steer clear of the joining the negative. If we come together and we put something positive, and we don't all have to say the same positive thing. Is that doing it any justice, Angela?
Well, my thinking was for us all to actually say the same thing, so we could maybe find, make something online, and then we could all copy it off, so we'll all have the exact same message.
Okay. Well, Angela, why don't we do this? Put you on the spot here. Why don't, for this, the August 12th, you put it on the Evolution Revolution page. And for those, I think everybody except for Shabana has Facebook. And we can put whatever it is you put. Does that sound reasonable?
Yes, it does indeed. I will have a think over the next few days, I'm not particularly good on the computer, but I will do my best and just type it out so that it can be copied off. Hopefully, fingers crossed on that one. But
Right.
at least I'll put the words out anyway.
Thank you. Did
Thanks,
that make
Philip.
it any more clear, Linda's guest? What's your first name again?
Yeah, my name's Megs. So, yeah, I think if we're going to leave it up to Angela then to come up with that first message. And yeah, for those of us, there's many, I think there's more than one of us that isn't big on Facebook, but there's other ways to meditate on the message than putting it on Facebook pages to spreading the word. So that sounds good to me.
Excellent. Okay, and then Angela, if I don't know if you might want to put it up on the 11th so that for different time zones, and then we can post it, repost it on our own pages.
Yeah, sure. I mean, next Sunday, I think. Yeah, next Sunday, then. So we'll be meeting, won't we? And then we'll put it up the next day.
Yes, and that's a good day because you can let us all know how it, what you came up with, and it's a touch point where if you're not on Facebook, you can just let us know where you got.
Yeah, that's great. I'll do that.
Okay, thank you. Shabana, do you want to do the closing meditation since we're right up on the hour?
Yes, I do. Lord God, thank you for showing us through Angela's idea that we absolutely refuse to be alienated. We are joined and combined in love. It's not the verbal message, but our beingness right here, right now. John, Angela, Linda, Mary, Bima, Nanette, Anne, and Megs are united with my heart to push out everything which is contrary to love. We are love, joy, and peace, and our collective conscious vibration of togetherness is now encircling this planet and the universes. Amen. All right, we're done.
Thank you, Shabana.
Thank you, Shabana.
You're welcome. See you next week,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you, Shabana.
All right, love you all, and thanks for being here. Okay, next time.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Thank you very much.